look at?
Well, Americans have, for years, been fed a pack of lies about Israel and Palestine. These lies enabled successive administrations of both parties to offer nothing but unconditional support for Israel and nothing but unrestrained contempt for Palestinians. American presidents stood meekly by as the Israeli governments blatantly violated international law year after year. Israel aggressively expanded settlements in the West Bank, imposed a brutal blockade of Gaza, aided settler violence, passed apartheid-style laws, and used a vast bureaucracy to put a veneer of legality on seizures of Palestinian homes and land. Our support for this criminal and inhumane status quo was enabled by an elaborate mythology surrounding the so-called two-state solution. Now, there are a number of components to this myth. First, that Palestinians have received multiple generous offers of statehood and have unreasonably rejected them. Second, that the Israeli government would love nothing more than to come to some sort of a two-state peaceful resolution, but have no, quote, partner for peace. Every part of all of that is a lie. Fortunately, this mythology is actually crumbling in real time, killed by friendly fire, you might say, as Netanyahu himself has announced. Not only will he do everything in his power to block a Palestinian state forever, but that he is proud to have been a primary impediment to the dream of a peaceful settlement. In a press conference last week, he said the following, quote, "You and your journalist friends have been blaming me for almost 30 years for putting the brakes on the Oslo Accords and preventing the Palestinian state. That's true. I'm proud that I prevented the establishment of a Palestinian state because today everybody understands what that Palestinian state could have been now that we've seen the little Palestinian state in Gaza." Now, this, of course, is a transparent bit of blame shifting from Bibi. He would absurdly have you believe that those who supported the Oslo process were to blame for October 7th rather than him, the dude who promised you could keep Palestinians locked in a cage forever with zero consequence, who cynically built up Hamas as a Machiavellian means to an end of blocking Palestinian statehood, whose administration was so distracted by his own corruption scandals and pandering to extremist settlers that they completely ignored the October 7th planning that was happening right in front of their faces. But I rather appreciate Bibi's comments here nonetheless, because they are the beginning of the end of our national delusions about the two-state solution. Now, literally no one should be surprised that Bibi is bragging about blocking a Palestinian state. This has been his entire political program and raison d'etre for decades. But such comments and naked admissions rarely make it into the U.S. press. They're said in Hebrew from an Israeli domestic audience, and American politicians just pretend they didn't hear them. Or they pretend that Bibi is some outlier, a fringe political character inconsistent with mainstream Israeli politics. This is all false. In fact, Netanyahu gives himself far too much credit as the sole bulwark against a Palestinian state. In fact, the various Israeli prime ministers differ not in their opposition to an actual Palestinian state, but in their tactics for permanently blocking one. So first, it's simple enough to demonstrate that opposition to Palestinian statehood has been a permanent feature of Israeli politics, no matter the prime minister. Maybe most illustrative is this chart. Under every Israeli prime minister, moderate, liberal, or right-wing, from lionized hero Yitzhak Rabin to the odious Netanyahu, year after year, illegal settlement building continued, and the settler population exploded. Now, why, you might ask, is this a key fact? Because the entire purpose of these settlements is to block a Palestinian state. Don't ask me, ask the settlers themselves. One of their activist leaders was recently interviewed by Isaac Chotiner, and she explained it very plainly, quote, "The world, especially the United States, thinks there is an option for a Palestinian state. And if we continue to build communities, then we block the option for a Palestinian state. We want to close the option for a Palestinian state, and the world wants to leave the option open. It's a very simple thing to understand." And she's right. It is indeed a very simple thing to understand. The consistent commitment to settlements under every single Israeli government exposes the lie that Bibi is somehow an outlier in his opposition. Now, here's